রাধা কৃষ্ণ প্রাণ যুগল কিশোর। শ্যাম গৌরী অঙ্গে দিব চন্দনের গন্ধ, শ্যাম গৌরী অঙ্গে দিব চন্দনের গন্ধ, চামর ঢুলাব কবে হেরি মুখ চন্দ্র, চামর ঢুলাব কবে হেরি মুখ চন্দ্র। গাঁথিয়া মালতীর মালা দিব দুহার গলে, গাঁথিয়া মালতীর মালা দিব দুহার গলে, অধরে তুলিয়া দিব কর্পূর তাম্বুলে, অধরে তুলিয়া দিব কর্পূর তাম্বুলে, ললিতা বিশাখায়াদি যত সখী বৃন্দ, ললিতা বিশাখায়াদি যত সখী বৃন্দ, আজ্ঞায় করিব সেবা চরণারবিন্দ, আজ্ঞায় করিব সেবা চরণারবিন্দ। শ্রীকৃষ্ণ চৈতন্য প্রভু দাসের অনুদান। শ্রীকৃষ্ণ চৈতন্য প্রভু দাসের অনুদান। সেবায় অভিলাষ করে নরোত্তম দাস। সেবায় অভিলাষ করে নরোত্তম দাস। রাধা কৃষ্ণ প্রাণময় যুগল কিশোর।
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Adikrita Prabhu. We welcome you to today's session. And yes, Prabhuji, I can hear you.
Okay, that's good. All right, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. I'll give a very brief intro and welcome. Yes, Prabhuji. So today, devotees, welcome all the devotees for today's evening session. And today we have with us His Grace Adikrita Prabhu. Adikrita Prabhu is a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He advocates Krishna consciousness through a simple spiritual life based on living off the land. He and his wife, Ruchira, a former Krishna lunch chef, have been involved with Krishna House for close to a decade. So we are very fortunate to have with us today, and we welcome him with one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, loud and clear, by raising the hand. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So over to you.
Yeah, sorry about this. I was trying to get at my computer, but I didn't. So now here we are. Okay, I'm ready. So how many people are speaking English?
Most of them, they know, Prabhuji. For Hindi translations, we are doing it on the His Grace Bhakti Charu Swami Hindi Facebook page. So probably we will get around 48 to 50 devotees watching live on Facebook page. And on this we are still expecting some devotees. They will join soon. And we have like devotees from ISKCON Ujjain as well. They are listening through some audio devices. So they are connected. And on YouTube also we put this live. So we get there also approximately 60 devotees. Those who are not technically on Zoom, technically developed in the Zoom, so they watch on YouTube.
Okay, I'm trying to see other devotees here. I'm not sure how to do that.
Devotees can start their video, so they can come like on the front page of
Yeah,
Adi
I'd like to see some more devotees.
Yes,
Hare Krishna. Anyway, first of all,
Kumar Prabhu, Sri Radhika Mataji, they can all, if possible for them, they can turn on the video. Many devotees are there.
Okay, 1 second.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so
okay. Yes, Sirji, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to condolences for you for losing your beloved Guru Maharaj. It's a terrible loss. I realize that, and everybody is very sorry in one way that Maharaj has left the planet, but he might be a lot happier where he is. Who knows? I'm sure he is. But first of all, I wanted to read a Vyasa Puja offering that he made this is in 2001. So if that's all right, can I read this out to you? Haribol?
Yes, Prabhuji. You can read out, Prabhuji. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Is it okay to read this offering by Bhakti Charu Swami?
Yes, sure, Prabhuji.
It's a very nice offering.
Yes,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
so this is 2001. So he says, Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances at your divine lotus feet. When you were in our midst, never did I realize how precious your association was. What would I not give today to have a moment's association with your divine grace? And in the depths of my heart, I hope against hope that someday I will become purified enough to be in your divine association once again. Often, oh, you got this one. Okay, often devotees get your association through dreams and tell me about their ecstatic association with you. Sometimes I also become blessed with that good fortune, and whenever you appear, my heart becomes filled with an indescribable joy. From that experience, I realize that the dreams about you are not actually dreams, but a glimpse into the spiritual world. They're not just a subtle recollection of the mind, but real perception of you in your spiritual form. Recently, I heard about such a perception of one devotee. You appeared to him, and when he asked you why so many problems in ISKCON are stifling the progress of the Krishna consciousness movement in this world, you explained that you go from one universe to another performing your pastimes. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inundates the Bharatvarsh of a certain universe, you come and spread his Sankirtan movement throughout that earth planet. In some universes, after your disappearance, the devotees there cooperate with one another and carry out your instructions with all sincerity. And there everything goes on very nicely and Krishna consciousness continues to spread. But in some planets like ours, the devotees fail to do that. And as a result, the Krishna consciousness movement suffers a terrible setback. However, you assured him that here also everything will eventually become all right. Those who are sincere will act according to your instructions, and through them, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy will flow and the Krishna consciousness movement will start to grow. I feel convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was not a dream, but that you did appear to that devotee and answered his questions. I feel reassured that although we are not able to see you with our mundane eyes anymore, you are very much here with us. You emphatically instructed us that we must associate with you through your Vani and develop our real relationship with you by following your instructions. You ensured us that if we mold our lives according to your teachings, you will also be present in our hearts. Once again, I have been blessed with the realization that you are still with us, Srila Prabhupada, and that those who abide by your instructions will receive your mercy. They are your real followers, and it is through them that your mission will be accomplished. Due to their genuine love for you, they will cooperate with one another, and it is due to their sincere endeavors that ISKCON will be saved from its present calamities. This was a while ago. There was a few more problems at the time in ISKCON, which seem to have been resolved. They will become the true participants in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement and will be recognized on this earth as the greatest heroes of all time. And at the end of their stay on this planet, they will be awarded the greatest good fortune of entering into the spiritual world to assist you in your eternal service to the transcendental couple. Aspiring to become the speck of dust at your lotus feet, your insignificant servant, Bhakti Charu Swami. So this is very instructive, and we can actually, you can put yourselves in the same position that Bhakti Charu Maharaj was when he wrote this, just after well, not just after Prabhupada left, but in relationship to Prabhupada leaving the planet, that he hasn't really left. Bhakti Charu Swami has not left. He's in your hearts, and he wants to see you determinedly carrying on his mission that he started in Ujjain and whatever projects he started. And then there's another excerpt I wanted to read from the same Vyasa Puja book in 2001. This is written by Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. He's quoting Srila Prabhupada. This is very instructive. So he says, Shavas Shastre Koi Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sabasiti Hoy. Prabhupada says, for me personally, I had the opportunity to talk with my spiritual master not more than 10 times in my whole life, not more. It may be less than that, but I tried to follow his instruction, that's all, although I was a grihasta. So this is a process. That is you sing every day, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aika. That is the process. Wherever you live, if you follow strictly the instruction of Guru, then you will remain perfect. But if we concoct ideas against the instruction of Guru, then we are doomed hell. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasada, yasya prasadad nagati katopi. There is no more shelter. Finished. Yasya prasadad. If Guru thinks that this person, I want to take him back to home, back to Godhead, now he is going against me, he is not following. Aparasadat. He is displeased and everything is finished. Yes, anyway, follow the instruction. That is required. Follow the instruction. Wherever you remain, it doesn't matter. You are secure. Follow the instruction, then you are secure anywhere. It doesn't matter. And now this ISKCON movement has developed in grand style because I strictly follow the instruction of my Guru Maharaj. That's all. Otherwise, I have no strength. I have not played any magic, did I? Any gold manufacturing? Still, I have got better disciples than the gold manufacturing guru. So this is Srila Prabhupada's mood. And this should be our mood because he's the Adi Guru. He's trying to teach all of us how to live in the absence of our Guru Maharaj. So many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples hardly ever spoke to Prabhupada. I never spoke to Prabhupada. But by reading his books and by associating with his followers, I became convinced that Krishna consciousness is the topmost lifestyle for a human being. So that was in 1974. I dedicated my life, and I haven't done very much, but at least I've been convinced that Krishna's God, and I've tried to distribute the knowledge as much as I am able to. So we find that many devotees, many leaders in ISKCON never hardly spoke to Prabhupada, but they have sacrificed everything to spread Krishna consciousness. I can tell you about a few of the ones I know that really hardly ever spoke to Prabhupada. One such devotee would be Niranjan Swami. Niranjan Swami, he's a friend of mine, and I don't think he really ever spoke to Prabhupada, maybe once or twice, hardly ever associated with him. But he became such a dedicated follower that he was willing to risk his life going to Russia when it was forbidden and dangerous to go there. And, you know, since then, been completely fixed in his conviction that Krishna consciousness is what everybody needs. So he's risked his life to try and give it to other people. Then there's Devamrita Swami. I don't think he really spoke to Prabhupada much. He was saying how back in 1975, when they had that big book printing marathon in LA, they had to print 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita in 3 months. So he was working very hard. He was editing or something. And he really wanted to speak to Prabhupada, but you couldn't really get close to Prabhupada. He had so many close followers. It was very hard to get near him. So he said, you know, I'm not going to be able to speak to Prabhupada. I'm not going to be able to get a big position in ISKCON, so I'll be able to be close to Prabhupada. But what I can do is I can do something very bold. And so he went also behind the Iron Curtain, those communist countries back in the 70s, early 80s. Of course, Prabhupada had disappeared. His physical Bapu, not his form in the heart. So, you know, he really hardly ever spoke to Prabhupada, but he dedicated his life. And Prabhupada stressed over and again that Vani is more important than Bapu. So just like another instance, how to illustrate this point is Jayananda Prabhu, because you've all heard of Jayananda. And Jayananda, you know, who is very dear to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, one time when Jayananda was standing at the back of the temple, this is early on, probably in 1968 or something in San Francisco, Prabhupada said, look at Jayananda, he looks like Lord Chaitanya. And the devotees started laughing. And Prabhupada said, no, he really looks like Lord Chaitanya. So Jayananda was special, and when Prabhupada would give class, he didn't like it when devotees fell asleep when he gave class. But sometimes Jayananda would fall asleep. Are you still with me? Hello? Are you still there? Hare Krishna?
Yes, Father.
Okay. You can hear me, all right?
Yes, Prabhu. We can hear you.
Okay. So am I speaking too fast or anything?
No, it's okay, Prabhuji. Perfect.
Okay. All right. So Jayananda, you know, Prabhupada didn't like it when devotees fell asleep in the class. But Jayananda, sometimes he would fall asleep. And Prabhupada said, don't wake him up. Generally, Prabhupada would, you know, get a little upset when devotees fell asleep, and he would tell somebody to wake them up. But with Jayananda, he didn't tell him to wake him up. He said, let him sleep, it's okay. Because he knew that Jayananda, he was working so hard. So back in 1976, they had the New York Rath Yatra. There was a big deal because that was the first New York Rath Yatra, and it was going to go down Fifth Avenue, which is one of the most important streets in the world. And, you know, everybody was very excited. Prabhupada was very excited. And he came to New York, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Jayananda that we would like you to drive Srila Prabhupada. And so that was a real privilege to drive Srila Prabhupada. But Jayananda Prabhu, he said, no, I don't want to go too close to Srila Prabhupada. I don't feel qualified. I feel dirty. I don't feel clean enough or pure enough to go to be with Srila Prabhupada. So that was the mood that Jayananda had. And of course, when he passed away, you may have heard the story, he had leukemia, which is cancer of the blood. He passed away right before Prabhupada. And so Prabhupada wrote him a letter after he'd passed away, but it was really for the education of the devotees and for them to see how, Prabhupada liked Jayananda so much. Even though Jayananda never really had any position, we didn't have any gurus aside from Srila Prabhupada, but even aside from that, he wasn't a temple president. He wasn't anybody in any position. He wasn't a GBC. He would just do all the menial things. But he was very, very dedicated. So when he passed away, Prabhupada wrote this letter to the devotees, really. And he said, my dear disciple, Jayananda, you're actually very fortunate because Krishna has taken away your diseased material body. So, and now you have gone back to be with Krishna. And if by chance you didn't go straight to Krishna, then you went to the heavenly planets. And after going to the heavenly planets for some time, you will go to be with Krishna. You'll go to Krishna's abode. So we should feel confident that the process of Krishna consciousness is very powerful. And Prabhupada said that if we chant 16 rounds every day, we can go back to Godhead in this life. So we should feel confident that Bhakti Charu Swami went back to Godhead or went back to be with Prabhupada. Maybe he's preaching on another planet somewhere. We don't know. But what he would want, Bhakti Charu Swami, and I'm sure you've heard this many times, is that you would continue with his preaching projects. That the most embarrassing thing for a guru is that if they start a project and then their disciples, they don't dedicate themselves to the project. They don't see it through. So, I feel that even with Srila Prabhupada, there are some of his instructions that we haven't been able to develop as he wanted. There's one purport in the Srimad Bhagavatam, actually, where he talks about how in America we have many farm communities where we're showing people the principle of simple living and high thinking and being satisfied with very little. And so, we do have some farm projects in America, but they're not really thriving as Prabhupada wanted. So obviously, for the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, for his followers, we have to try to make his words or his desires manifest. That is our duty. So I don't know exactly what Bhakti Charu Maharaj's desires were as far as preaching, but whatever they were, I know that he started the Ujjain project. So we have to be very, very dedicated to maintain all the projects that Bhakti Charu Swami started. Otherwise, it's an embarrassment that you make disciples, but they're not dedicated enough to carry on the projects that you started. So we have to have that resolve. And ultimately, we have to get inspiration from the structure of ISKCON, from the senior devotees, and of course from Srila Prabhupada himself. I know several devotees who've done incredible service, and they've actually had 2 or 3 gurus. There's one devotee, Shruti Dharma. He was the president of the Bhaktivedanta Manor in London, and he passed away recently. But he had two or three different gurus, and but he never ever wavered. He never ever got bewildered that now my guru has left. Maybe I should give up Krishna consciousness. But he was completely dedicated because he understood the message of Krishna consciousness. So it's inevitable that the guru leaves. That is just, obviously if someone's over 70 years of age, it's not long before they're going to leave their body. So we shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't become bewildered. A test of our real Krishna consciousness is if we carry on faithfully serving the instructions of the guru. So this may be difficult without the physical presence of the guru, but this is the example that we have to follow from Bhakti Charu Swami himself. There was a talk by Shiva Swami Maharaj, maybe you saw it, and he was saying how that when Srila Prabhupada left the planet, Bhakti Charu Maharaj was really very heartbroken and very upset. And Govinda Maharaj, Bhakti Bringa Govinda Maharaj, he saw him, and this is 1977, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj said, I don't know how I can carry on without Srila Prabhupada. And it was very difficult for him because Srila Prabhupada was very attached to Bhakti Charu Swami, and he had personal association, everything else. But Govinda Maharaj, he talked to him and consoled him. And, so Bhakti Charu Maharaj became determined to try to spread Krishna consciousness in the absence of his guru. So this is a real faithful devotee, just like Srila Prabhupada. His guru left the planet many years before Prabhupada came to America. But he kept that instruction in his heart for many years. He thought about it for a long time, how he could do it. He was meditating on that instruction. So this is the ideal disciple, that he's meditating on how to fulfill the order of the spiritual master. And maybe we can do something wonderful. Maybe we can do more than what our guru did. And then that's the mercy of our guru. That's what your guru wants. He wants you to do more than what he did. So we see that Srila Prabhupada was more successful in one sense than Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that he spread Krishna consciousness much wider and further than his Guru Maharaj. So this is very pleasing to Bhaktisiddhanta, that if your disciple, in that case, Srila Prabhupada, he was able to make so many devotees in so many different countries, that if we can follow that example given by Srila Prabhupada, that if we really want to please Bhakti Charu Maharaj, then we have to pray very hard to become empowered to spread Krishna consciousness. Or if we don't have much potency, at least to keep the temple in Ujjain clean, or to make sure the deity worship is going on nicely. Everything should be maintained very nicely, even more so in the absence of the guru, because basically, if people think that the projects started by the guru are being neglected, then it reflects on the guru or his disciples. They were just neophytes. They could only, because we saw many times with Prabhupada that a lot of the devotees who had intimate association with Prabhupada, they gave up. They didn't carry on in Krishna consciousness long after Prabhupada left the planet. You know, they didn't have the faith, they didn't have the intelligence or determination to carry on after their guru left. So I saw that, you know, I never spoke to Prabhupada, but I never, and I'm not the only one, many other devotees never spoke to Prabhupada. We never ever once thought of giving up Krishna consciousness just because Prabhupada left the planet. So this should be, you know, an example that you follow, that, you know, my guru, his body is not here, but he's here just as much as he ever was. And he's expecting us to serve him just as much as we ever did. And if it's just down to his body, we can only serve his body and, you know, try to get a smile from him now and again. That's not really first class. The first class is that we carry on serving and we try to glorify him, that, oh, the disciples of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, they're so inspired. They were so dedicated to Maharaj that even when he left his body, they were able to accomplish much, much more than what he could. And he empowered them. His example, his instructions was such an example that they could achieve much more. So we should think like that. And there was another letter I was going to read, which is a very nice letter. Where is it? Oh yeah, it was on the Veda base actually. If you could bear with me a minute. Oops. Are you all there still? Hare Krishna.
We are here, Prabhuji.
Okay, so can I just read this letter from?
Yes, sure, Prabhuji.
Is it database? How is everybody doing there? Is everything carrying on well?
Yes, Prabhuji.
That's good. One second.
Prabhuji, which letter was that? We can try to search it on Vedabase here and we can share the screen.
Okay, Vapu Vani. Well, I probably you've heard some of these things before, but this is one. It's called. I on the search bar I put Vapu Vani, right?
Okay.
And then if you look at all the different instances where these words are mentioned, the first one is a letter to Tusta Krishna. It says neglected form is called Vapu and teachings is called Vani. Both should be worshipped. Vani is more important than Vapu. So letters to Suchi, it's the third item down, letter to Suchi. There are two ways of associating, by Vani and by Vapu. Vani means words and Vapu means physical presence. Can you see that one?
Premoda Prabhu, Ramlila Prabhu, are we able to get that?
Letter to Suchi. Anyway, don't worry, I'll read it. Physical presence is sometimes appreciable and sometimes not. Therefore, we should take advantage of the Vani, not the physical presence, because the Vani continues to exist eternally. Bhagavad Gita, for example, is the Vani of Lord Krishna, although Krishna was passed away many times before, many years before. Oh yeah, was present 5,000 years ago and is no longer physically present from the materialistic point of view. Still, Bhagavad Gita continues. So so this is the point that, we have to see the Vani, try to search. And I know that one of Bhakti Charu Swami's foremost instructions and desires was that we all stay within ISKCON, that we all cooperate together to make ISKCON stronger, because that was Srila Prabhupada's desire. And without ISKCON remaining strong or becoming stronger, then none of the gurus will be happy. Prabhupada wouldn't be happy. Bhakti Charu Maharaj wouldn't be happy. So we have to cooperate. As we saw with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, he was displeased with his disciples because they fought about, who got which room in the Gaudiya Math Temple in Bagh Bazar, Calcutta. So we have to be very careful not to become materially motivated. I've never been to Ujjain, but I'm sure it's a very nice place. So we have to not desire to live in the nicest room or to just be the president or whatever, but we should serve selflessly to make Ujjain a very vibrant Krishna conscious community. In that way, we'll get the blessings of Maharaj. And if we cooperate with ISKCON, there's one verse in the 4th canto. What's that verse? Varam vinidram badram vo yoyam me nipasurida sohadem pitaktam damas dharmoyam suridayanava. It means the Prachetas, they were cooperating together. And so Lord Vishnu, he said, I'm very pleased by your mutual cooperation. Therefore, you may ask a blessing from me. So when we cooperate together, that is very pleasing to the Guru. And, one of the biggest austerities in the Kali Yuga is because it's the age of quarrel, is to be humble and cooperate together. We see so many. Yeah, we all have to support for the land temple. That's right. That's true. So we all have to cooperate in the Kali Yuga, because people have a very argumentative mentality. It's not easy for them to cooperate, but we have to revert the general atmosphere of Kali Yuga by cooperating and very lovingly working together to please ultimately Srila Prabhupada and Krishna and Bhakti Charu Swami and all the other devotees who really want the best for Bhakti Charu Swami's followers, who really care about them because they're devotees and because they're members of ISKCON. And we want to see everybody happy and satisfied. And the best way to do that is to remember that your Guru is always with you and that he will be more with you the more you sacrifice for him. The more you do, just like when Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he was black. Okay, so black persons in Eastern Europe, they stand out a lot because there aren't many black people. So he was there. This is around 1977, 76, 70. He was distributing sets of Srimad Bhagavatams and Chaitanya Charitamritas to different professors in different universities. And it was difficult, and he was really struggling. He wasn't with Prabhupada, obviously. He was catching trains to different cities, and it was illegal. He was black. He stood out like a sore thumb, if you know that saying. It was so obvious that anybody could ask him, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here, but he did it. He was very brave. So when he met Prabhupada, when Prabhupada came to London, he came there at that time in 1977. This is in August 77, just before Prabhupada passed away on his last trip out of India. He gave a very loving embrace to Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and he said he was so grateful to him. So Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he was serving in the Vani. So we have to accept that, the Vapu is not the real person. It's only the body. The soul is much more important than the body. So his Vapu, his material body is gone, but he's conscious of what we're doing. Actually, I had a dream of Bhakti Charu Swami myself, because in a way I didn't always agree with things. I'm a difficult person. But the day after he passed away, I had a dream and he actually embraced me. I was totally surprised. I never expected it. So, he probably could understand what was in my mind somehow or other. So he's conscious, probably more conscious now than he ever was. So we have to remember that he's watching every move we make, everything we do. And he wants to see you happy. And the only way you're gonna be happy is by serving his instructions, which are in accordance with Prabhupada's instructions. And then you get the blessings of all the Guru Parampara. So I'm gonna finish there. I don't know if you have any questions. If you have any questions, you can ask a couple of questions as you like. So what do you think?
Prabhuji, so far we didn't receive any questions. If you wish to share something more, then probably by that time we can get some questions.
Well, I've run out of things to say, to be honest.
Okay.
Srila Prabhupada, he said that,
Here comes, Prabhuji.
You have a question?
We received the question, Prabhuji.
Right.
This is the question from one Mataji. He's saying, Hare Krishna Prabhu, done with Pranam, please accept my most humble obeisances for worship Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. What would you say was your deepest realization after Srila Prabhupada left this world? Was there any particular instruction from Srila Prabhupada that had held on to the most after he left?
Well, I was distributing books. And, at that time and even now, Srila Prabhupada emphasized book distribution. And so it wasn't really hard for me to know, what Prabhupada wanted me to do, because I was good at distributing books. It's one of my few talents, I can distribute books. So I didn't really, it's not that Prabhupada personally told me to distribute books, because I never spoke to Prabhupada. But the temple hierarchy, they knew what Prabhupada wanted. I was out distributing books like a few days after I became a devotee. I was on traveling Sankirtan, full-time book distributor for many years. And I still distribute books, and I like distributing books. It's not something you grow out of. I preach more when I distribute books. I make devotees, and I could do a lot more. I could be a lot better, but that's what I do. But Prabhupada never personally told me to do that. But the fact is that it's we know that Prabhupada wanted certain things, and it's the duty of the followers of Prabhupada, not just his direct disciples, because we're all disciples of Prabhupada. He's the Adi Guru. So there are many things that he wanted. And I think Bhakti Charu Swami understood that, farm communities were important, or farms. So I think he got the Deland project because of that. So that's an important project. I mean, there are other, I also believe in self-sufficiency, and I believe that that's one of the most important instructions that Prabhupada gave for the future, that if we want to really change the world, we have to show people a different way of life. It's not just about cow protection. I have cows. I got 12 cows. I milk the cows every day. And I like the milk. I drink a lot of yogurt. But it's not just about cow protection. It's about showing people how human beings are supposed to live on this planet. Because we see what happens when people don't live how they're supposed to live. You get pandemics, and you get pollution, and you get anxiety, and you get suicides, and you get a lot of terrible things, and global warming. So, we have to change the way people live, and we have to set the example. So this is what, Prabhupada wanted. He didn't just want book distribution. He wanted people to demonstrate why and how cow protection is important, because you can't have good health without cow protection. And cow protection is something that is not a one-man show. It's not just a one-family show. It should be done in a community or in a village with other people. So, it's a huge topic, self-sufficiency, cow protection, barn ashram, etc., etc. But I'm just saying, these are some of the things that, Prabhupada doesn't have to personally tell me these things need to be done or that I should go and do it. But I know these things need to be done because Prabhupada talked about it, and it's so obvious. It's just common sense as well that, to change the world, we have to change the way people live. Is there another question?
Yes, Prabhuji. The next question is, can you please share any of your pastime with His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj?
I didn't really know Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj very well, honestly speaking. I didn't really associate with him much. I lived in North Florida. He was in South Florida sometimes. So I didn't really have a lot of association with him. I mean, I saw him occasionally, and, he always hugged me. I had that dream about him. I respected him as being very dear to Srila Prabhupada, but I never really had a lot of interaction with him, honestly speaking. So, I don't have a lot of personal anecdotes about my association with him. I'm sorry about that. I wished I did. I had a dream about it. I'm sorry.
Yes, Prabhuji. So the next question is, Hare Krishna Adikrita Prabhu. Once you kindly stayed with me in my humble home in Bushi, near the manor. I will most grateful if you are able to visit Ujjain and stay with me in my apartment, for which I am a caretaker of on behalf of BCS, and guide us all in Ujjain. This is your humble servant Leela Purushottam Prabhu.
I know Leela Purushottam Prabhu. Yes, he's a very sweet devotee, and he's I think his nephew is a Kinshana Prabhu, a Kinshana. Yes, I would like to go and stay with him another time. I may take him up on that offer. He's a very sweet devotee. Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to visit Ujjain one day if I ever, I'm in that area. I come for a visit. But right now I'm really focused on preaching in America. Although I travel sometimes, I've been to Russia a few times and South America. So I like to travel. But, I'm based in Florida and I preach in different universities here, mainly in one university in Gainesville, North Florida, University of Florida, big university, very good for preaching. They have the Krishna lunch there. And then I live near the Alachua temple. I was there for Mangalatik this morning. I led the Guru Puja. I'm leading the Guru Puja or Vyasa Puja day. Anyway, so I live here. I've got 40 acres of land, which is about 120 bighas. And, have my son lives here, his 2 kids. My daughter lives here, her 2 kids, my wife. And I like to go away sometimes. But right now it's the pandemic, so I'm stuck here. But Lila Purushottama, is he there? Lila Purushottama?
Yes, Prabhuji. We will request Prabhuji to unmute himself and.
I can't. Oh, there he is.
Yes, he is.
It looks like it's winter. You're wrapped up. Is it very cold there?
Actually, I got slight flu. Nothing to worry about. So, yeah,
okay.
I'll be very honored if you're able to come to Ujjain when this virus is out of the way and guide us, because we got a lot of experience and we got 2 goshalas in Ujjain. So you can give your experience input in Ujjain also.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I will come and see you, Lila Purushottama.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Hare Krishna. Bhakti Charu Swami Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Any
Krishna,
other questions? Hare Krishna.
Yes, we have. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Thank you very much for your very inspiring divine words. Prabhuji, I felt that after some time, many things what we understood and heard slips from our consciousness, and we fail to see things in that mode. Prabhuji, please enlighten and bless how we can act always in that realization.
We have to hear regularly. We have to hear every day. We have to keep our sadhana, keep our practice very good. We have to insulate ourselves. Like in very hot countries. Well, actually, it's interesting. When I was in North Bengal, I was in Ekachakra. Ekachakra, you've heard of Ekachakra, the West Lord Nityananda's from, where he was born. So they had these, I don't know if they still had them. I was there 30 years ago. They had these mud houses. The mud blocks the houses were made of were thick like this, like 2 feet thick, 1 meter thick. So the idea is to keep the heat out. In very cold countries, if you go to Russia or somewhere, they have, they insulate, have very thick walls to keep the cold out. So similarly, we have to keep Maya out. We may not have perfect memories, it's okay, but you have to keep hearing transcendental sound vibrations all the time. You can't let Maya creep in. So you may not be able to remember very much. You should remember the important instructions, getting up early, chanting 16 rounds, etc., etc. And if you keep reading the books and keep chanting, then you'll remain strong. And Prabhupada said you have to pray to Balaram for spiritual strength, because we all need strength. This world is a very difficult place. So we have to follow very strictly. And if we follow very strictly, Krishna will protect us. Krishna will give us the intelligence. The intelligence comes from Krishna. Krishna says, Matasmiti Gyanam Apohanam Cha. He says, from me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedas of the nerve Vedanta. So we have to, try to be humble so that Krishna will help us. If we're humble and if we pray to Krishna, we take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna will protect us. So Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead. Krishna wants us to be happy. But we have to be very careful because Maya, she's very sneaky. And if you give her 1 inch, she'll take a yojana, 8 miles. So we have to be very consciously engaged in spiritual activities all the time and have no time left for getting into Maya. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you for this answer, wonderful answer from Sundar Damodar Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam Prabhu. Please, the importance of reading books like Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Well, these are, this is where we get our knowledge from. That's where real knowledge comes from. You're not going to get knowledge from Darwin or, Richard Dawkins or. So we have to get knowledge. An intelligent person wants knowledge. A Brahmin wants knowledge. So we're trying to become Brahmins, but to be a Brahmin, you have to have knowledge. You can't teach if you don't have knowledge. So we have to get, we don't just get knowledge, we get inspiration. We get, when you read about the lives, if you're reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you read how, the humility of Rupa, Sanatan, and their relationship and their feelings and how lowly they felt, Haridas Thakur, and the activities they performed. This should make us humble. I mean, how can somebody be beaten in, different, 15 or whatever, 14 marketplaces and just feeling compassion for the people that are killing them because they're going to get into trouble if he doesn't die? Or, the leper who's taking the worms out of his body. So you read these descriptions of these great devotees and you automatically realize how fallen we are, how far from being real devotees we are. They're such great devotees. And then we get, we learn how to behave. We learn so many things. I mean, we learn how to pray. We learn about the planetary systems. It was very interesting. I was reading just yesterday about the different planetary systems, how the moon travels twice the speed of the sun. That's pretty interesting, how we see, if you look out at night, the moon is traveling much faster than the sun. I never really thought about that very much, but it's amazing. It's moving twice the speed of the sun. And then we learn about, well, Krishna is speaking in the Uddhava Gita, such a wonderful, beautiful conversation between Uddhava and Krishna. And, Krishna says, Kinchanasya dantasya santasya maya chaitata maya shant. Anyway, I can't remember the verse, but beautiful verse that for one who desires nothing within this world, whose consciousness remains fixed on me, he experiences only happiness wherever he goes. There's just so many beautiful verses in the Bhagavatam, and just, I mean, it's nectar. But then there's other books as well that we should try to read. Devotees never satisfy. There's unlimited knowledge. why did the Goswamis write so many books? You know, Prabhupada told us to read books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jaivadharma, Chaitanya Shikshamrita. There's, you know, you got the books of the Goswamis, so many books. But at least you have to read the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. How will you get knowledge? How will you survive in the material world without having a glimpse of the spiritual world? The material world is just a prison. When you hear about the spiritual world, it's like, you know, your mind takes a break from the material world. The material world is a very depressing, dark place, especially now. So you need to take a break. You need to relieve your mind from just the mundane reality of our modern age and just see the spiritual world. So the descriptions are there of the spiritual world and how to avoid going to hell. The descriptions are there in the 5th canto, the hellish planets, you know, why people go to hell. If you don't offer your enemy kind words and a cup of water, there's a hellish planet. You can't go back to God if you have grudges, or if you have material desires, or if you're disturbed by the opulence of others. If you see someone with a nice, you know, Porsche, you know what a Porsche is? Yes, Porsche, motor car. If you see someone with a nice Porsche and a beautiful girl, and your mind becomes disturbed, then you can't go back to Godhead. So these are all important instructions that, you know, we have to come to this stage of being completely convinced about Krishna consciousness and not having material desires. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this answer. There is one last question. This is from one Mataji. She's asking how to balance material and spiritual education of child.
Education of child. Well, you should write to that one, you know, Radha Raman, that Rabbi Gupta. Anyway, Radha Raman, is that his name? I think so. Yeah, Radha Raman. His education was all on Prabhupada's books. That was how he got homeschooled, and he went to Oxford University. I think he was the youngest person to get a PhD from Oxford University. I'm not sure if I got his name right now. Anyway, his mother and father, they were initiated devotees, and they taught their children just through Prabhupada's books, actually. If you can't do that, then you have to don't be too fanatical. You know, when I was a young devotee, we were a bit too fanatical with our children. So you have to be very careful and give them a lot of affection. And obviously, they have to make a living. So unless they're very surrendered Brahminical types, even if they are, they'll still have to make a living, most likely. They'll probably get married. So, you know, we should give them, like the Ishopanishad said, that we have to understand the science of nescience, material knowledge, and also spiritual knowledge. So we have to have both. But if we just give them spiritual knowledge, then they may resent it if they don't feel they got enough education to be able to get a job or whatever. But then if we don't give them any spiritual knowledge, they'll just, you know, we'll be depriving them. it's very hard with children. Basically, I would send them to Mayapur, maybe at a certain stage. Boys, when they're 13 or 14, go to Mayapur for a few years. It'd be very good. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Right.
For, yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for enlightening us by sharing the lessons from Srila Prabhupada's life, Srila Prabhupada's departure, and then Vyas Puja offering of our Guru Maharaj. Like definitely many devotees, they read some time in their life, but when it comes like with the lesson, it has a different impact. So
Okay.
and also you shared another letter which was written to Sachi Mata. So it was really yes. So yes. So yeah, well, like it was really nice to have your association today evening. It's evening in India. So yeah, today evening with all of us, and we are so much grateful to you. So we are so much grateful and thankful to you. So we thank by chanting one Hare Krishna mantra all together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Adikrita Prabhu ki jai.
And if you want me to give a Srimad Bhagavatam class or something one day, I can do that.
Okay, sure, Prabhuji.
Let me know. All right, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Jai. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
All right.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj. Now it's working.